The latest from the house of Mercedes-Benz is the latest iteration of its best-selling sedan that has in the past seemed almost humble in comparison to most of its portfolio mates. But now for the first time, it's looking like it can be a flag bearer for the brand. That's the W205, or as the world knows it, the new Mercedes-Benz C Class. Yes, the new C is bigger, brighter and sexier, and yet it's lighter, more agile and cooler too. I'm driving the car in the south of France on the outskirts of Marseille on the Route de Crête, a gorgeous scenic and twisty drive up into the mountains. The car on your screens is the C220 BlueTech, the most fuel and environmentally efficient diesel on the range. The 220 also turned out to be the right variant to help create a solid first impression. Not overly powerful, not excessively specced out, the C220 in its avant-garde trim is indeed just right. Now, since it is the baby S, let's start with its looks. Certainly looks the offspring, doesn't it? Similar roofline and yet an almost aggressively ostentatious face. Yet, it works. The avant-garde trim grille with a huge three-pointed star also works for me, and it adds a sporty yet classical character to the car. The massive crease in the metal along the sides only enhances that character. The head and tail lamps are right in the block hole when it comes to the new design language and signature design elements from the boys in Stuttgart. And yes, once again, very akin to the S Class. Totally loving the almost organic feel to the design of the daytime running and chrome elements inside the headlamp cluster. Interestingly, the Global Press Drive offered us 7 engine options on 43 test cars. More than what we are used to, I'll tell you that. But I chose wisely, for even though we won't get the BlueTech avatar, we will see the C220 CDI be the volume driver for this car in India. The car is bigger, but it's lighter, as I mentioned, by as much as 100 kilograms compared to the outgoing W204. That's thanks to a 39% increase in the use of aluminium in the car's structure and body panels. And so the car is also a lot stiffer, and I picked up on that right away. Now, the engine family doesn't have a completely new range. It's just an updated engine family, and so you've got lots of tweaking. The engines are better on performance, and they're also better on efficiency, so they're getting a little bit greener overall. In India, we'll have to wait and see what the final engine lineup will be like. I've been telling you this throughout, though, that the 220 CDI is more or less a given, not the BlueTech. However, since that is the car I'm driving right now, let's quickly take a look at the specs on this one so you know just what I'm experiencing. The 7-speed gearbox has definitely been worked on. It was always a good unit, but it seems a little bit more responsive. The gear changes are a lot smoother, and I'm having a lot more fun with the paddle shifters as well. Having said that, I just want a more powerful engine to be able to really experience that. So I'm hoping that tomorrow I get the chance to check out one of the more powerful petrols, or perhaps even one of the more powerful diesels. But having said all that, I can't simply cannot wait to drive the AMG version when that comes out. And that car lurks around the corner. But for now, let's stay grounded, shall we? And yeah, I will get to the C400 or one of the petrols on the second part of this drive tomorrow, as promised. The good news is that I'm not feeling the urge to switch. The C220 BlueTech is keeping me engaged and entertained. The improved handling and the stiffness helps that cause. Just spend a few minutes driving this car and instantly, it doesn't take you long. You pick up the fact that ride and handling, that's that one area they seem to have worked on, and the car is just a whole lot superior compared to the old one. Now, the C Class was never one that was known for its absolutely sporty character. It was always the BMW 3 Series, right? Well, this car comes close now because it's the material quality. You've got a lot more aluminium, so the car is lither and lighter, and just the way it's been engineered overall seems to be towards that performance quotient being a whole lot higher. And that's been intentional from Mercedes-Benz. The new C Class seems to want to take on the road more readily, no matter what kind of road you take it to. But is that really what our Desi owners were asking for?
Now, while ride and handling and cornering is something that I've had lots of fun with, especially on this route, the nice twisty, cliffy roads on the route they create, it's also just the overall characteristic of the car as well. It seems more compact, more ready for the road, and I like that character really. In India, remember, people are going to be wanting to sit at the back, and that's the other good news, that the suspension at the back doesn't feel too hard and yet doesn't feel softened up. Now, I have to wait and see what they do with the car that comes to India. They might tune it a little bit differently, but I have to say the car we have today, it's working really well for me. This is the optional Airmatic suspension, remember, and you've got to pay extra for that. About 1,400 euros is what they're saying. So in India, we'll have to wait and see what kind of spec sheet Mercedes finally brings in. But overall, for me, the ride and handling, that's the story when it comes to this new generation.
Yes, that Airmatic suspension is really rather special, and it's a segment first, by the way. The system uses adaptive dampers to make handling crisper and yet offer a cushioned ride overall. I would pay extra for it, assuming that it's going to be offered in India, of course. The car has different agility modes, as Mercedes likes to call it, like Audi's Drive Select, so you can go from Comfort to Sport Plus, or drive sensibly in Eco mode too. The car is wider and has a longer wheelbase than its predecessor, which helps make the cabin more spacious.
Now we're going on about this whole tag of being called the Baby S. I'll tell you what, on the inside, you certainly get a sense of that, perhaps more than the outside, because overall, it's not just the materials, it's a sense of luxury that you get, more perceived sense than the predecessor. Not to say that the C Class was drab or shabby in any way, but this one just seems a little bit more upmarket. The use of piano black, a little bit of the metal elements, and almost a hark back to a slight antique feel to all the knobs and switches. That is pretty nicely done. It may not appeal to everyone because a lot of people have a slightly sportier sensibility. Well, then you got BMWs for those people. So let's get back to this car. Now, what's nice about this particular package is that it's pretty high-end, and so you've got a whole lot that's been thrown in here. The use of the different colors, the brushed metal, and even the way that the overall door panel has been arranged, all really nice and different. The part I want to talk about, I'm not a huge fan, as some of you know, of this floating screen. It almost looks like an afterthought. The A Class had it, and now it's become a part of most of the Mercedes family. Having said that, it gives you a lot more, and the overall updated command system is just a lot better than what you had earlier. That was drab and shabby. Now you get a nice command system, and it's got a few little tricks up its sleeve. What you see down here is no longer a flip open phone dialer. What you instead have is a little bit of a touchpad, pretty much like what you've seen on the MMI from Audi. And overall, it just makes things a little bit easier. So you don't have to use the rotary dial. All you do is just quickly tap onto this. You can just navigate using your finger. There you go. I'm going to go into telephone and click that. And then, of course, you can go ahead and write things as well. There you go. Or you can go ahead and punch the number as well that you want to. So I'm going to just use the touchpad to just write.
9 2 0.
Yeah, she takes a little while.
0.
Well, you get the idea. I'm not going to actually dial anyone. And besides that, it's nice to also see that a lot of the carryovers from the S Class in terms of the menu are here. So you get ambient lighting, you get the overall car menu, all of that is in here. It's nicely done, the vehicle menu. The animation is much better as well. Now, a look at the back seat. When you get into the back, all comparisons to the S Class stop right away. Well, of course, you're not going to get the reclining seat, and you're not going to get the massage function either. This is the C Class. From the outside, the car gives you the impression that the back's going to be really cramped and it's not going to be so spacious or ample. So it's a nice little illusion, because when you get inside, legroom's not too bad. I mean, of course, you can't stretch your legs out, but you get a decent sense of headroom, and the seat, fairly comfortable. I think on long drives, you might find that the recline angle isn't perfect, but then most cars don't always get it right. You have rear AC vents. You also have controls back here to adjust the temperature and the fan speed, and that's a nice little touch to have a digital screen which shows you that, pampers you just a little bit perhaps. The drop-down armrest is not new to you. A little bit of space in there is also not new to you. Cup holders. Also not new, but just a nice little funky design. It's a little different looking. And there you go. That's how it works.
Mercedes-Benz will offer the C300 Blue Tech Hybrid that offers 27.77 kilometers per litre. But no, we won't be getting it in India. We will likely get the 220 CDI as I mentioned, petrol, but we may get the C400 4MATIC with all-wheel drive and eventually the next generation C63 AMG 2. Which is why on day 2 I'm jumping into the C400 4MATIC to get a sense of how the car feels. It's definitely powerful, and the numbers say it all, don't they? The 7G-tronic transmission is very well married to this unit, and the car with me is dressed in the AMG trim.
333 horses, belted out by a nice powerful V6 under the hood. So in terms of driving character, very different to the car I had yesterday. In terms of styling, it is similar, though what we had yesterday was the avant-garde trim. This one is the AMG trim. Similar sort of an appeal in the front grille, though you see a nice combination of matte and chrome elements. Down here, the bumper gets a lot more aggressive, and well, that is pretty much in keeping with AMG styling. It's the headlamp that's of course common to all the trim levels, which is really the nice part of the story because it's got a nice organic feel to it in terms of just the way the styling has been carried out. And the car tends to look a little more compact than its predecessor, perhaps even more compact in terms of visual appeal than a car like the 3 Series because of this nice sort of a sloping coupe roofline that comes down. You've seen that on the new S as well. It's probably something that you're going to see more and more on the sedans from Mercedes-Benz. Of course, the CLA has it too, and this car looks a lot like the CLA, doesn't it? Back here, it's a bit of a wraparound tail lamp as well. Again, LED styling done really nicely and sharply. And as I said, AMG trim, so it's a different bumper at the back too. Take a look at all of this, very aggressive, and the twin tailpipes just adding to all of that.
There is a top-of-the-line exclusive trim with a classic front grille, and this grille has closing louvers for extra aerodynamics. Now that's completely Hollywood, eh? The C Class is expected to arrive in its 5th generation avatar in India only around December or January. Mercedes-Benz India has its hands full in the meanwhile, as we will get the CLA 45 AMG and the GLA compact SUV. In my view, the C Class still isn't the best driver's car. The BMW 3 Series has still got that covered. But in terms of style, space, luxury and comfort, the things that matter in India. The new C Class is compelling and pushes the envelope far. The soon-to-be-launched Jaguar XE will be the car to watch, as it is the new C Class that it will have to beat. And that is going to be a tough ask.